Welcome, everyone. You are listening to Quantum Humanitarian, the first AI native podcast of its kind.
That's right.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into the insights that shape our understanding of humanitarian realities, diplomacy, technology, and global affairs.
Yeah.
Our unique perspective is built on analyzing, understanding, and reflecting on the extensive published work, research, articles, and, lived experience of a truly insightful voice in the sector.
And in this deep dive, we're basically serving as your guides. We'll be drawing directly from that incredible body of work and its reflections to distill the most important, actionable insights for you.
Think of it as your shortcut, right, to really getting the landscape.
Okay. Your shortcut.
Our mission today is to spark a dynamic, analytical, and importantly, a human-centered conversation. We want to balance the strategic reforms, the big picture shifts, with the raw, lived experiences and powerful emotions that are really the heart of humanitarianism.
Yeah, that's crucial.
Our goal, as always, is to leave you well-informed about the current state and future possibilities of this absolutely vital sector.
And for those of you who want to explore the source material further, and we really encourage you to, we've included links to the platforms and publications that inform this deep dive right there in the description. There's a lot to unpack.
Okay, let's unpack this then. We're going to open our theme today with a phrase that might make you squirm a little. Don't waste a serious crisis.
Yeah, it's provocative.
It feels counterintuitive, doesn't it? But think about it. Moments of profound crisis, though really uncomfortable, can actually serve as critical turning points. They face a necessary introspection, a transformation in systems that might otherwise just cling to stagnation,
Yeah.
This isn't just about damage control. It's an opportunity for significant, maybe even radical change.
It's a compelling notion, definitely. But it also prompts a really crucial question. Is this current moment truly different? Or are we simply caught in another cyclical alarm within the humanitarian sector?
That's fair. We've heard alarms before.
Exactly. Because when we look at the source material, it's clear the system isn't facing a sudden collapse. Not the language used. Instead, what's happening is described as systemic destabilization.
Okay, destabilization.
Yeah. A slow unraveling of old assumptions, rigid structures, and deeply held narratives. And while these tensions have been building for years, 2025 in particular seems to have really turned up the volume, exposing them more clearly than ever.
You're right. It feels different because it's becoming kind of undeniable now, almost visible. And this brings us to a concept from complexity science that I find incredibly insightful. The edge of chaos.
Yes, the edge of chaos. And it sounds alarming, I know, but it's not really about dysfunction.
Right.
Imagine a river at a certain point. The flow isn't turbulent, but it's not perfectly calm either. It's described as a threshold where familiar patterns dissolve, where rigid control gives way to agile adaptation, and entirely new forms of action and organization become possible.
So like a sweet spot for change, almost.
Right. Kind of. It's a state of heightened sensitivity where systems can either tip into breakdown or, crucially, adapt and find a new equilibrium.
So applying that to the humanitarian world, it's not that things are completely falling apart. It's more like a chrysalis, right? The system is messy and painful, but it's transforming. The source material captures this really beautifully, suggesting humanitarian systems on the edge of chaos are not failing. They're searching often painfully for a new shape that fits the complexity of their time.
Exactly.
And this highlights a really key takeaway. Instability isn't some flaw in this sector. It's inherent to its very nature.
Yeah.
It's structurally predisposed to it because of the environments it operates in.
That's a critical point.
So the real challenge isn't escaping chaos, but learning how to build systems that can think, adapt, and evolve within it.
Precisely. And this leads us straight into a strategic assessment of the situation.
Yeah.
The sources pinpoint a series of signals, that's the term used, that clearly indicate the humanitarian system is entering a phase of deep structural redefinition.
Yeah.
It's not collapse, but it is a definitive point of choice. Let's dive into some of these critical indicators.
Okay, let's do it. What's the most surprising signal, maybe? Or perhaps the most profound sign that the system is truly at this tipping point?
Well, one of the most profound signals, I think, is that institutional certainty is breaking.
Institutional certainty. Okay.
We're seeing major international NGOs,
Yeah.
the household names restructuring, downsizing, even rebranding sometimes.
Right.
But it's rarely a proactive strategic evolution. It's more often a frantic fight for survival. Think of it like a massive supertanker trying to turn on a dime in a storm.
That's a good image.
Their legacy systems are struggling to reorient. And formerly stable partnerships, they're becoming purely transactional, defined by short-term needs rather than, long-term trust.
So how does this upheaval impact those huge established organizations? What's the outlook for these legacy institutions?
Means they have to urgently interrogate these outdated roles, release deeply ingrained assumptions, and fundamentally reimagine themselves. It's huge.
Wow.
The core shift needed is from building NGOs for scale, control, and brand preservation, the old model, to building them for trust, proximity, and adaptability.
Trust, proximity, adaptability. Got it.
Practically, this means moving away from default country office models toward truly equitable partnerships with national organizations. And it demands a radical redesign of governance structures to center community leadership in decision-making, not just, consultation after the fact.
That makes incredible sense. It feels long overdue. And speaking of values, another signal that really resonates is how the values practice gap is widening.
Oh, massively.
We're incredibly fluent in progressive language, localization, decolonization, accountability. We hear it everywhere.
All the buzzwords.
Exactly. But the systems that govern funding, leadership, and authority remain largely unchanged.
That's a massive paradox, isn't it? We talk the talk, but walk a very different path.
It's a fundamental disconnect. The sources point out that resources continue to flow overwhelmingly through international intermediaries, right?
And decision-making power remains concentrated in global capitals, far from where the work is actually done.
So frustrating.
This creates what's called institutional incoherence. And crucially, it erodes trust not just with affected communities, but internally too, among staff.
I can imagine.
The emphasis here has to be on moving beyond mere slogans to actual systemic realignment.
Okay, so what does that look like?
It means rethinking partnership models. So local and national actors can not only co-design programs, which is often talked about, but also hold actual budget authority.
The money.
That's the key. And it also means overhauling HR systems to reward things like proximity, ethical leadership, and structural courage over just compliance and distance.
Right, rewarding the right things. And it feels like this growing gap, this disconnect, is creating fertile ground for entirely new players to step in.
Absolutely.
Because another clear signal is that new actors are emerging faster than the system can absorb them.
Yeah, they're popping up everywhere.
We're seeing everything from diaspora-led initiatives and mutual aid groups to, spontaneous volunteer collectives. These groups are often closer to affected communities, more agile in response, and deeply embedded in local contexts. Their tangible contributions are undeniable.
Yeah, totally undeniable. Their impact is profound, yet the formal system largely struggles to acknowledge their legitimacy or center their leadership. They're often seen as interesting, but not integral.
Sidelined.
Pretty much. This has led to the quiet emergence of this parallel ecosystem that's incredibly innovative, trusted, and fast-moving.
Which sounds great.
But also chronically underfunded and often disconnected from global influence and resources. So the path forward, according to the analysis, is to shift from gatekeeping to scaffolding.
Scaffolding, I like that.
Yeah, channeling flexible funding, redesigning consortia to really center local leadership, amplifying their reach without suffocating their agility.
That's truly inspiring to hear. The thought of these agile, locally embedded groups growing their influence, it really gets me thinking about the future. I do hope to be physically present and working alongside these talented people one day.
That would be a truly transformative shift in perspective, wouldn't it? And connected to this emergence of new voices, we're seeing that public critique is now structural, no longer just fringe commentary.
Okay, structural critique.
It's coming from within and beyond. This isn't just external noise. It includes frontline staff naming burnout, former practitioners sharing their, raw experiences, and community leaders pushing back with renewed vigor.
So when the source talks about post-critique being structural, how is this different from, the usual complaints we hear? What truly signifies that this isn't just noise, but a fundamental shift?
It's seen as a vital form of diagnosis from those who still care deeply and actually want the sector to live up to its own ideals.
Oh, okay. It's coming from a place of wanting improvement.
Exactly. It isn't about tearing down. It's about healing, about making it better. So the solution here is to listen to this critique not as a threat, but as a map for change.
A map. Nice.
Yeah, by embedding safe, accessible feedback channels and actively platforming dissent, truly hearing those voices from the ground up.
Then there's the elephant in the room for many organizations, funding. The signal that institutional donors are pulling back. This isn't just about less money flowing overall, is it? It feels like something much deeper is going on.
No, it's described as a profound structural recalibration. Institutional donors are quietly pulling back, reducing commitments, reprogramming budgets, and deprioritizing crises that don't align with domestic political agendas.
Politics creeping in.
Deeply. This is a deeper shift in how the legitimacy of humanitarian work is being questioned, often through these geopolitical lenses.
So what are the implications if the big donors pull back?
The implications are enormous. The analysis stresses the need for hybrid funding models, much greater political literacy within the sector.
Understanding the politics?
It's in really strategic advocacy to anchor humanitarian funding in long-term public trust, moving beyond just passive diversification strategies.
Yeah.
It's about demonstrating real, sustained value, not just managing short-term grants.
Right, proving the worth continuously. And if the money is shifting and legitimacy is questioned, it naturally follows that the established ways of working are getting slower.
Oh, yeah.
We hear it constantly. Coordination systems are too slow.
There absolutely are. Formal coordination mechanisms designed for order, right? They are now too slow, rigid, and hierarchical.
Like the clusters.
Exactly. Take the clusters, those formal coordination groups that form during a crisis. While designed for order, the source points out they can take weeks to fully set up.
Weeks.
But local communities, they're often responding in hours. It's like trying to navigate a speedboat with the turning radius of an ocean liner.
Yeah, that captures it.
The very systems meant to help are holding back vital, rapid responses. So the solution is to redesign for agility, inclusivity, adaptability, shifting from central command to collaborative scaffolding.
Scaffolding again?
And building open knowledge networks that empower those closest to the crisis.
And if we're going to adapt at that speed, it sounds like experimentation is no longer a luxury. It's an operational necessity. We see innovation labs popping up, but how much is truly embedded in the everyday workflow?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
While innovation labs exist, the reality is most organizations are still built for compliance, not curiosity.
Compliance, not curiosity. Oof.
But Source makes it really clear. We can't pilot our way to transformation. We have to make experimentation part of how we operate every day, everywhere.
So it needs to be core, not peripheral.
Exactly. This isn't about isolated projects. It requires allocating core funding for prototyping, embedding safe-to-fail pilots, and integrating a learning mindset into how crisis response is planned and executed daily. It's about building a muscle, not just having a shiny lab.
It makes perfect sense that if systems aren't adapting and people are caught in the gears, they're suffering.
Immensely.
Burnout as organizational exhaustion is a signal that's painfully clear to anyone in or near the sector.
Yeah, you feel it.
It's not just from the relentless demands, but crucially, as the source says, from working in systems that contradict their values. That must be soul-crushing.
Exactly. This isn't a sign of personal weakness. It's a flashing warning light for systemic issues.
Yeah.
I remember a story maybe from a practitioner's reflection shared in the work about a field coordinator who, despite delivering life-saving aid daily, admitted the hardest part of their job, the thing that drained them most, was battling the bureaucracy back at HQ.
Wow. That says it all.
It's those moments that truly highlight this systemic fatigue. So the discussion stresses that care is not an afterthought, but a foundation.
A foundation, yes.
It means advocating for collective care practices, making psychosocial support a standard, not a luxury, and crucially, investing in organizational psychology as a core competency, not just some HR add-on.
Absolutely essential. And then there's a very practical, immediate issue that impacts any operation on the ground. Access is cracking.
Yeah, this is huge.
We've seen it play out in so many places recently. What happens if the next big crisis arrives and no one can get in?
Well, the systemic fragility of humanitarian access is becoming increasingly politicized, fragmented, and contingent. It's getting harder. And what we often call hard-to-reach areas. The analysis suggests they're often just inaccessible to us because our traditional models assume international presence as the default.
It's our model that's the problem.
Often, yes. It's a wake-up call that our standard operating procedures aren't built for the realities on the ground anymore. So the solution proposed is to redesign for permanence, proximity, and trust.
Permanence, proximity, trust.
Which means making significant investments in locally rooted actors and long-term operational infrastructure, fundamentally shifting power and presence before the crisis hits.
Proactive, not reactive. Okay. Finally, the last signal mentioned is that isolation is strategic blindness. The sector often talks primarily to itself, missing out on crucial cross-sectoral collaboration in areas like advanced tech, innovative finance, climate adaptation, even AI governance.
This is seen as a profound structural vulnerability. We need to actively build relationships outside our usual orbit with civic tech innovators, social enterprises.
Through partners.
Exactly. And by embedding humanitarian insights into broader global conversations, not just staying in our silo. This requires strategic curiosity, really looking beyond our own walls.
Strategic curiosity, love that.
And just to add two more critical signals drawn from the comprehensive work we're exploring today, the observation that language is outpacing behavior.
The talk versus walk problem again.
Precisely. Using all the right words without the actions to back them up. And that the dominant narrative of savior and victim is breaking down.
Interesting.
Both of these underscore the growing disconnect and the urgent need for authenticity and, frankly, new storytelling.
So, okay, all these signals, it brings us to the big debate, doesn't it? Are established NGOs and UN agencies truly capable of this kind of radical adaptation? Or will these new actors, the diasporas, local groups, agro-alliances, tech innovators, inevitably lead the way, potentially rendering the old guard obsolete?
That is the core question, isn't
Yeah.
it? And the source material suggests that evolution is possible, but man, it demands profound internal change.
Right.
It points to emerging systems and tools, things like AI for foresight and early warning, stable coins, and maybe even crypto for faster crisis finance.
Well, okay.
Impact investing as an alternative to traditional grants, and hypermodels for more nuanced scenario planning.
So new tools are part of it.
Definitely. And on the governance and influence side, it highlights the growing role of entities like the GCC and EU representation, the immense potential of diaspora engagement as a real power lever, and the evolving landscape of digital diplomacy. These tools, combined with a fundamental shift in what's called system shift mindsets, moving from compliance to curiosity, from clusters to communities of practice, and crucially, from fear of failure to cycles of learning, these indicate potential pathways for system evolution, not just, piecemeal changes.
It's easy to get caught up in all these strategic discussions, though, the systemic shifts, the data points, the frameworks.
Yeah.
But at its absolute core, humanitarianism is deeply, powerfully human. Let's maybe transition to that side of the story for a moment, because without it, all the strategy means nothing, really.
You're absolutely right. We have to ground this. Amidst all these structural analyses, we must never lose sight of the profound exhaustion of frontline staff, the awe-inspiring creativity of local leaders, and the unwavering resilience of communities facing just immense challenges.
It's humbling.
It really is. Close your eyes for a second and just imagine being in a small, dusty office somewhere where staff maybe haven't been paid for months, but they still show up day after day because they believe so deeply in the work they do.
Wow.
That's the human core, isn't it? The quiet heroism that sustains everything.
And that's where the source material brings us back to a core reflection. That genuine reform has to begin not just with new policies or shiny tech, but with fundamental elements like care, trust, and humility.
Yes. Foundational.
This grounds all the strategic discussions we've had in ethical and emotional principles, the truly human foundation. So if we acknowledge the depth of this crisis, this edge of chaos, and we see the human cost and the human potential, shouldn't we then push for something truly radical? Maybe sometimes to build anew, you must be willing to let go of, or even metaphorically burn down the old systems that no longer serve their purpose to clear the ground for what's truly needed.
Look, I absolutely understand, and I share that visionary zeal, that urgency, but we also have to temper it with a crucial note of caution.
Okay, the analyst speaks.
Well, reckless optimism and rapid wholesale change. They carry inherent risks and complexities.
Yeah.
We need to carefully consider the potential downsides of dismantling established structures too quickly, even if they are imperfect. We have to avoid unintended consequences and ensure continuity of vital services during any transition.
So it's not just about burning down, it's about building up simultaneously.
Exactly. It's a delicate, iterative dance between radical reform and responsible transition.
Okay, fair enough. You're absolutely right. It's about navigating that tension. So then, what's our converged roadmap? How do we truly move forward in this space of, well, productive chaos?
I think we converge on a roadmap that emphasizes practical guiding approaches, things we've touched on, continued experimentation as a non-negotiable operational principle,
Experimentation.
the courage to challenge the status quo from within and without,
Courage, yes.
and genuine shared leadership, that truly empowers all actors, especially those closest to the communities.
Shared leadership. Okay.
The sources remind us again and again that chaos is part of the ecosystem, that every breakdown is an opening, and that adaptation and experimentation are new operating principles that have to be embraced, not feared.
Ultimately, then, it comes down to clarity in our purpose, courage to act on our convictions, and connection across every level of the system. Clarity, courage, connection.
That sums it up perfectly.
It's a powerful set of guiding principles for what comes next in the humanitarian world, isn't it?
Absolutely.
This has been Quantum Humanitarian, an AI native podcast shaped by analyzing, understanding, and reflecting on the profound work of a leading voice in global humanitarian affairs.
And we really do invite you to explore the rich body of work that informed this deep dive. You'll find the links to the publications and platforms in the episode description for a much deeper exploration of these critical topics.
At the edge of chaos, we face a choice. Collapse quietly or rebuild courageously. The future depends on what we choose today.